was taking notes. The number of criticisms was good, but Rob wasn't listening or paying attention, so he only heard 2 complaints. Not true. Now Rob wants to complain the caller didn't do 6 Destiny complaints. I kid you not. He wants to be patted on the head for faking 6 criticism, demanding 12 from his opponents. Not what I did. 3501. I quote, I could have predicted what your argument was going to be. We're at this point 20 minutes into a conversation. Rob made the first claim, and we're still waiting for him to provide the video of the quote he's claiming happened. We've now waited 17 minutes and gone through 3 different subjects, but yeah, now Rob is pretending he could have predicted the argument. Keep in mind, Rob said that he would discuss his tweet, but that hasn't happened yet. So I'm not even sure what Rob thinks he could have predicted. Also worth noting, well, the reason that I'm saying I could have predicted what he said was because he did exactly what I said, which was why it was important to go through this. Right? Because what ends up happening is when I am later able to provide the exact quote, he says, no, you're misrepresenting it, which is why when he says, I've routinely heard you misrepresent people's comments, it's important to deal with that before I provide the exact quote, because when I provide the exact quote, he'll say, well, I already told you, you routinely misrepresent people's comments. That's why we're dealing with it in that order. Now, here is... Here we go. Oh, he's typing vigorously. Do you hear him? Here he is, my primo hater. Someone who loves to hate me so much that he writes these books every day. Someone who's a coward, who won't show his face and doesn't have his own channel. And so he's going to, I'm not screaming. And so that he's going to have so much of his life dedicated to writing comments on every one of my videos. And I thank him so much for the engagement. Ladies and gentlemen, Unholy Raft himself, give him a round of applause. Thank you so much, Unholy Raft, for finally not being a coward and calling in. We all appreciate the content that you provide. Now, you're going to read the whole paragraph, then we'll discuss it afterwards. Go for it.
All righty. So, Rob says he will look for evidence to prove his claim of what Destiny said at 1745. While he does this, he wants to explore a counterclaim made in the rebuttal. Worth noting that even in collegiate debates, following this conversation is an important part, Rob. Before we leave this to timestamp pieces of the counterclaim inside the rebuttal, at 2245, Rob claims that his opponent has no evidence to support his counterclaim, which is interesting that although Rob made the very first claim in the combo at 1745, he chose not to provide evidence for that claim. Instead, he's attacking his opponent for not having evidence of a counterclaim. Right after this, his opponent even notes that Rob hasn't provided evidence. Rob does click his keyboard and move his mouse, but he goes right back to arguing. In fact, if you'd love to, you can click those little timestamps there, and you can show you just clicking the mouse and moving the keyboard, but we never get the evidence for like 20 minutes.
Okay, one, what was the counterclaim?
Ace, what was the counterclaim inside of the rebuttal? Do you admit that?
I admit that I don't understand if you know what the words rebuttal means, especially as referencing collegiate debate. Can you tell me what rebuttal is in collegiate debate, seeing as how you're referencing that? Go ahead.
So is a rebuttal the refutation of the debate?
No, so the first speeches that each side gives are called the constructive, in which they're making their case. Then after the constructives, you do what's called rebuttal speeches. The constructive speeches are 9 minutes, each followed by a cross-examination of the constructive, where you talk about the things that were specifically said in it. So if anything, what I'm doing is more akin to a cross-examination of his constructive case that he's making, as opposed to a rebuttal. But you seem to have a lot of knowledge about collegiate debate, so go ahead, explain to me.
Okay, so
how long are rebuttals normally? Just curious. In collegiate debate,
there's going to be different times, but in the one I went to,
no, you're talking about the collegiate debate that I.
Okay, I'm not going to sit there and do a freaking collegiate debate with you because your fucking ego is hurt, bud.
No, it has nothing to do with my ego.
The whole fucking paragraph is the context, not the one word. Do you understand that?
Let me finish.
The whole paragraph. No, I'm not going.
You referenced several times collegiate debate and me being a collegiate debater here, and you say on this point specifically, when it comes to collegiate debate, that it's important. Following the conversation is an important part, right? Then you say about counterclaims and rebuttals, but I'm starting to think you don't know what a rebuttal is in collegiate debate. So I'm happy for you to tell me what is the time frame for a rebuttal speech in collegiate debate? Go ahead.
Is this a pedantic point?
Oh, so then you have no clue.
No, is this a pedantic point? Answer the question, fat fuck.
No, it's not pedantic.
So what's not pedantic about it? Answer the question.
Can you show a picture of yourself, since you want to make fun of other people's images? Can we see a picture of yourself?
Are you going to do this, anybody?
Are we going to you?
Are we going to get to it, fatty? Get over it. I want to fucking hear it. Come on, bitch. Come on, bitch. Get over it.
Let's see a picture of yourself. Let's see a picture of yourself.
Ever go beyond that point?
Are we going to see a picture of yourself?
Let's hear it, Rob.
Are you going to show a picture of yourself?
Let's hear it, Rob. Come on.
Turn your
Come
camera
on, buddy. Come on, baby.
your
Come on,
camera.
come on, come on. Come on,
What
baby.
are you gonna do? So
Come
you're
on,
a
baby.
coward.
You can do it.
So he's a coward who won't turn his camera on, just so we can see, right? Number one. Next, he says a point. What is he talking about? If he wants to talk about pedantics, why is he talking about collegiate debate and following the conversation being an important part? It's not pedantic because what he doesn't understand that in collegiate debate, what happens is the affirmative oftentimes gives their plan. You have one topic for the entire year, but the topic is broad. In that debate, what happens is you could take a plan that is more narrow that falls within the bounds of that topic. Most of the time, unless you're breaking a complete new plan, you give that plan before the debate to your opponents. So your opponents know exactly what your plan's going to be. Most of the time, they even know what your reasons for that plan was going to be because you're running the same plan almost multiple times, certainly throughout the course of the year. And so they'll ask, what are your advantages? You'll tell them like the economy, global warming, something like that. Then they'll offer a counter argument. That counter argument oftentimes will have things like counter plans. It'll have direct rebuttals, direct refutations. It'll have other plans that are made. It'll have certain language. There'll be attacks on you as maybe a critical attacks on the things you're doing, philosophical attacks. It could have performative attacks on you. The structure of the debate then is you follow what we call is a flow. So in a flow, what happens is you basically keep a line of arguments, right? So my 5 arguments on this sheet of paper on the economy. Now we'll switch to the next paper, global warming. Here's my 5 arguments. Then they'll introduce 4 new sheets of paper, our counter plan, racism, Marxism, whatever. They'll list 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then off of my arguments, they'll go one by one off of my arguments. So what you do in a debate, and it's weird because he seems to be making this point here, he says, even in a collegiate debate, following this conversation is an important part. Right. So in a collegiate debate, it is important to follow the conversation. And multiple times what will happen is what the argument you started with the first side making, that's not the argument you end up talking about as you go through the debate, because things that occur within the debate become more important issues. For example, if I say we should lower subsidies, but call my opponent a fat fuck, my opponents will then say, Rob called us fat fucks. That's against decorum. It also shows that he's a bigot, an ableist, whatever. And that's what the entire debate will come to. The judge isn't going to say, wait a minute. No. You have to prove your original case that Rob was wrong about what he said about subsidies. You can't talk about him saying that you're a fat fuck. Now, Unholy Raft, no, I don't think it's pedantic then, because what I'm showing is, as you invoke collegiate debate to make your point that I should not be allowed to reference an accusation made against me and ask for proof of it, you actually have it completely backwards. So no, it is not pedantic.
Okay, so I'm gonna say some things. Sit there quietly for a minute, if you don't mind, sir. Okay, so my point of view, the way I'm coming from this is from a guy who always says, I'm Rob Knorr. I participate in a lot of college or online debates, also debated in college, stuff like this. And yet, when he is the one making the affirmative claim inside of the argument or the debate as it begins, and he even outside of that, because the meeting is over Rob's affirmative claims. So when Rob even begins the whole conversation with affirmative claims, the first thing that we're exploring, which I agree, Rob, we don't always spend time over the actual main subject. The first thing that we explored wasn't even related to the main subject. It was a 4-year-old conversation in which Rob didn't like the fact that he was being mischaracterized for the way he quotes people. And the only thing it served was to like pump up your ego or build down your ego at that given moment. But in actuality, because you guys never even agreed on it, if you didn't come in with a bias or pro Rob or pro Destiny, you wouldn't actually come out with any kind of understanding or any kind of like taking of one side or the other, because you guys just sat there, argued over a point that was 4 years old over whether Destiny and had said the voting and writing was the other side of the coin of voting. And you argued that you argued that for so long that you never even came back to the original point.
Okay, first off, you've done the exact same thing in this conversation where you were going to call in to talk about this, but we spent so much time running afoul of talking of other things. That's number one. Second, the specific accusation made to me was that I falsely interpret, what's the exact word that he used? I'm drawing a blank here now, but it basically was, I misrepresent what people say. Now, there's a strategic reason why I felt it was most important to deal with that first as we get to towards the end of this conversation that I'm having with my opponent, is because when I provide the receipts that say what I say, he'll say, no, 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 that's a misrepresentation. Even though he said what you said, he said, there's explanations from that, because actually that's just a 30-second quote from a 3-hour video, right? And so you're misrepresenting it. And so when he makes the fundamental accusation to me, because I make a bunch of points about Destiny's called for censoring people, I thought this was obvious. I don't even think Destiny would deny this. I think he would say, even recently, he's been on shows. I didn't have the timestamps available or anything like that from the particular videos. I thought that almost anyone was aware of that. If he wants to say that's not true, okay, I'll bring up clips, no problem. But when he says, I don't believe that because I've watched you recently and I've seen you misrepresent people, I'm allowed to say, when? When did that occur? He says, I saw you misrepresent Destiny when you claimed he said rioting was the other side of the coin to voting. I'm allowed then to say, okay, let's look for proof of that. In that conversation of looking for proof of that, two things happen. First, he says that it's a misrepresentation because of the tone, because I'm using, quote, loaded language. So even if Destiny really did say that quote, the fact that I'm putting negative connotations around that means that it's a misrepresentation. That's a ludicrous point and gets to the point that when we get to the specific claims of Destiny saying that he wants to censor people online, my opponent will say, oh no, you're using loaded language as to why that would be a bad thing. So that doesn't qualify. The second point that he makes is that it's taking it out of context, which again, if I say that Destiny calls, if I provide a quote saying he's calling for censorship of people online, he'll say, no, that's out of context, right? And so what I'm doing is laying the groundwork for, he's basically told me what his argument's going to be. His argument's going to be, even if you could provide receipts, I'll refuse to accept them because I'll say, nope, it's only a 20-second quote of a 2-hour conversation. It's out of context, and you were using loaded negative language. He made the accusation to me. Similarly, if I make the accusation to you that there's something terrible about you, you're telling me that you would just say, oh, okay, I won't touch that point. Instead, we'll just move on. Now, will you acknowledge that I do bring the receipts that Destiny said exactly what I said that he would say regarding riding the other side of the coin to voting? Will you admit that?
No.
He didn't say that.
Did he say that, or was there more, Rob? Because it's a quote. A quote has to be exact. So what's the exact quote?
So how?
What's the exact quote?
Okay, let me,
what's the exact quote? Don't stammer over your words. Get to it.
I have a question before we get to that.
I'm not answering it until you answer that question of mine.
Okay, well, then I will just say this. How long does the quote have to be? Like, for example, if I provide the quote of one sentence, will he say that's not enough? What was the sentence before that? What was the exact sentence before it? And what was the exact sentence after that? Now, he said the words that I said he said, and he's going to say, no, tell me what the exact quote was. If I miss an and, or if I miss an does that mean that I'm not providing an exact quote?
No, it doesn't. But if you're missing an important word that would change the context of the overall sentence, it can mean something. And if you don't mind, I can provide an example of my reasoning from the opposite side of the perspective.
Go ahead. Let's hear your example.
Okay. Are you going to sit here and say yes to me that Donald Trump said that white supremacists were good people?
He did not.
Why? It's quoted.
Show me the quote.
Oh, sure. In the Charlottesville, he said, there are good people here on both sides.
Show me. I didn't hear anywhere in what you just said him quoted as saying white supremacists are good people.
I'm sorry. I'll try to say it again. That probably my phone's a little low.
It's a great example. I accept your example fully. You said Donald Trump said white supremacists are good people. I said, can you provide me the quote? And you said he said good people are on both sides. Can you show me in that sentence you provided where he says white supremacists are good people?
Sure. Go into Google and go Charlottesville, Donald Trump, white supremacist quote.
Okay. Let's say I do that. And you're telling me it's going to say in that quote, he says white supremacists are good people.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. There you go. So there you go. Well, there you have it. Unholy Raft, absolutely certain that we are going to find a sentence from Charlottesville where Donald Trump utters the words, white supremacists are good people. Before we let Unholy Raft come back on, we're going to find that quote. We're going to find the Charlottesville quotes. All right, we'll use this one because I can't find the full transcript. Here's the quote. Excuse me, they didn't put themselves down as neo-Nazis, and you had some very bad people in that group, but you also had very fine people on both sides. You had people in that group, excuse me, I saw the same pictures that you did. You had people in that group that were there to protest the taking down of them of a very important statue and the renaming of the park. The Robert E. Lee, another name. After taking another question, Trump became more explicit. I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and white nationalists because they should be condemned totally. Can you show me in either of those quotes where Donald Trump utters the words white supremacists are fine people?
I'm actually going to quote you here, and if I actually miss the quote a little bit, it doesn't matter, right?
Can you show me? I asked you a question. Can you show me where you said definitively when we looked up the quote, it would say that Donald Trump said white supremacists were fine people.
Well, you're the one that told me. I'm just using your elite reasons. I'm sorry. I'm confused. I'm taking lessons from Rob Norton. You said if the quote isn't exact, it's fine because that was your thing. That was your defense of destiny, right?
What I said was Trump, unlike your claim about Trump,
What
where
was
you're
your,
a
what was
liar.
your defense of destiny?
What I said was that if you miss a word or two, that doesn't mean that you didn't accurately quote them. Like
A
Trump
word
did.
or two.
So again, you can't control yourself. So Destiny did say the words rioting and voting are two sides of the same coin. He made that argument. Trump never said white supremacists are fine people. He didn't say it. So I could provide the quote of Destiny. And if you look at the context, what he's saying, yes, he's defending the riots against public institutions. And he's saying, yes, I say, if you want to know what the full quote is, it's something to this effect. I say the conspiratorial nature in me thinks that people like de Blasio and others are allowing these riots to occur because they think it's bad for Trump or it could lead to change. And Destiny says, I don't think that's conspiratorial at all. I think that trying to go for change, that there is an attempt to drive for political change, and that something about like that's what our country's about, or something like that. Rioting and or activism and rioting is the other side of the coin to voting. That's what he says. Now, is that the exact quote? No, I probably missed a word here or there, but that's different than you saying Donald Trump said
No,
white
we both
people.
missed a word or two. We just care differently about the level of engagement.
It's not even close. You're
We
saying
are
that
because we're biased from our two different perspectives.
no,
That's why we care so much.
it has nothing to do with bias.
It is.
It has nothing to do. It has to do with objective
Prove to me
reality.
how it isn't.
I'll explain to you how it isn't. For example, what you're doing here is inserting words that were literally never uttered by Donald Trump. What I'm doing is citing words that were
Cutting out words that were never said.
Please, what I'm doing is saying words that were said by Destiny, but there were other words surrounding it that I'm not giving you the whole paragraph of what he said word to word. But I am, one, accurately representing what he said, and second, accurately saying exact words that he said.
So fucking Jesus Christ.
So I just want to, your argument is this, unless you get word for word, your argument is this, unless you get word for word, sentence to sentence,
yours.
Unless you get word for word for an exact quote, that it's literally akin to completely making up what someone said. Both are inaccurate quotes.
So my point, the point I'm trying to convey to you is that quotes, they need to be as exact as possible to convey the message that the person saying them is trying to convey. So if you're if you're cutting out words that might change things like protests, or if you're cutting or adding words like white supremacy, that will change the context of the meeting entire. In fact, the guy you were trying to talk to you about loaded language and the way you use it. And this was exactly what he was talking about. Hang on. I'm talking, you're interrupting. So in fact, this little thing, this whole back and forth over Destiny stuff, you had this back and forth with Destiny a couple months back. So you had the back and forth with the guy that said it. And that guy went back in the videos, listened to his old stuff, came back and told you exactly differently of that. So coming on to every single person that supports Destiny, because you can't give up this argument, is just you wanting to refute it with all the Destiny lights in the world until you get it right. But you're not right on that.
That's not what happened. I'll explain what happened. Destiny said that and said, I probably never said that. Then he muted me on his stream while we were on the spaces and went back for his audience where I couldn't hear, re-listened to the quote, and then tried to justify what he said. He never came back and told me, well, this is what I meant. He tried to justify it to his own audience. He said it. I could bring up other quotes of him saying similar things, that the rioting against police and stuff was acceptable, that it was a form of activism, that activism and rioting was the other side of the coin to voting. Just because you accept now that Destiny's later changed his stance and wants to say, no, those sorts of political riots are inappropriate because it's politically expedient for him to do so because he's attacking January 6th now, is irrelevant. The point that he was making at the time was that rioting and activism was the other side of the coin to voting. I am accurate when I say that that's what he said. And the fact that you, just like the guy last night, when I could provide the exact quote, will still deny it, proves why it was important to have this argument before we got to the exact quote. Because it is important, because everyone here could see.
No,
now,
you had this debate with Destiny.
I'm going to play the clip of Destiny saying this, and then you're
I'll
going to
play
explain. I'm going to play the clip of Destiny saying this, and then you're going to explain to me how I'm taking it out of context. Agreed? Yes? Okay, if you're no longer willing to engage, we'll say goodbye. You want to shout out your channel real quick?
I'm sorry. You keep muting me, so I just
because you keep interrupting in the middle of me talking.
No, hang on.
I have no respect for you, right? I have none. So I'll do what I want in my channel. I don't give a shit. You continue as you showed when you first came in here, just wanted to scream over me. You're now claiming some bullshit. So we're going to go to the exact quote. We're going to go to it, and then you're going to prove the claim that you're saying that I'm misrepresenting Destiny. Fair enough? No? You don't want to respond? Okay. You want to shout out a channel or anything like that?
Oh, fair enough. Sorry, fair enough.
Okay, so I'm going to provide the quote. I'm going to provide the quote, and then you're going to tell me how I misrepresent it. Fair enough?
Well, hang on. Okay, go for it.
Okay, so I said Destiny said that rioting was the other side of the coin to voting. You're saying, nope, misrepresentation. So here we go.
Okay, so first of all, that's not the quote. As Rob just explained to you a little bit ago, the quote, I believe, was something along the lines of, was it protesting and rioting are the other side of the vote to other side of the coin to voting. Oh, my V's and my C's there mixed up. So what he's trying to make the point of in democracy, that is part of it. You have to take both sides of it. Voting is what we do when we're happy, we want something. When voting doesn't work for us, we have to deal with the other side of the coin, protesting. Sometimes inside of protesting, we have rioting. This is why he used both words, protesting and rioting, to make his point. He wasn't trying to be nice about the language, he was trying to be real about it. But you are trying to take the worst part of that and blow it up to a much bigger thing because you're trying to make a point about the Democrats are so bad and Destiny have done this. Like, yeah, I get it. You have Democrat derangement syndrome.
First off, you don't even accurately quote the words. He doesn't say protestism and rioting. He says protesting and rioting. He says activism and rioting.
Dude, right? You didn't quote it right.
Secondly, the explanation that you make there still makes no sense. My entire point is Destiny clutched his pearls and hyperventilated for 4 years. Destiny clutched his pearls and hyperventilated for 4 years about January 6th. I told Destiny well before January 6th and many other people that because they were making excuses for political violence that we saw occurring in the summer of love, that if the other side said we also would like to engage in political violence, they would scream that that's unacceptable, it's horrible, etc., etc. So years later, when I'm doing this Spaces with Destiny, where he's going off about January 6th and talking about why his comments about the assassination of Trump, well, what about January 6th and how bad it was, and these people are monsters and blah, blah, blah. When I start on that and I say, listen, what I find so bad about you is the disingenuous nature because you're misleading people. You yourself defended political violence that was occurring during the summer of love with Black Lives Matter. You said that rioting was the other side of the coin to voting. Now, your explanation seems to be here. Oh, but that's only focused on one part of it. You're leaving off that he also said things like protesting. Yes, of course. He's going to say that there are multiple things that you could do to achieve political goals. Some of those will be voting. That's why he's saying one side of the coin. The other side might be forms of activism, and it may be forms of violence. I don't really care what his stance on activism is. That's fine. No one disagrees. You could be an activist. Great. The problem I have is if you're going to condemn political violence when it occurs on one side, when you were previously making excuses when your side was engaging in political violence and saying that that was the other side of the coin to voting because they're trying to achieve political ends, then you're a hypocrite. Similarly, it goes with the entire overarching criticism I had with Destiny of calling Asmongold fascist adjacent. He agrees with, has pushed for, etc. policies that I would consider fascist adjacent or authoritarian. So it's rich to hear him accuse other people of that exact thing. So can you explain to me, in what you just said of your defense of Destiny, do you think that Destiny is saying that rioting against political institutions is justified to achieve political ends?
Oh God, no! He never said that inside that entire conversation. It says the bitter reality we have to face with, but he never said justified. In fact, that was the entire multi-hour conversation that you had, right?
What's he mean when he says it's the other side of the coin to voting?
It's the other side of the coin. It's an unhappy reality you have to deal with. And don't forget, rioting is not the only word there. Activism and protest is what he's talking about too.
Right. So he says both. So he's implying both.
And what happens? What happens more? Is it activism or rioting? Which one happens more than the other?
Both are legitimate.
It matters. It matters. Which one happens more is going to be mattering.
It doesn't matter which one happens more.
Because one is a small thing and one is the bigger thing. So I'm going to have to look at the bigger problem.
If I would say that yelling at your wife and punching her in the face are both acceptable, and you said, I don't think that's at all. You can't physically assault your wife. And I say, what happens more, yelling at her or punching her? What happens more? Oh, yelling? Well, therefore that matters. See? No, you would say, no, I don't care about the yelling. I care about the punching. You're legitimizing the punching. Legitimize when you say
I've got an example of you.
So here we go. Let's play the clip. I think this will be, we're going to play it a little further out than we did last night. And then I'll play some other clips to make it unambiguous of what exactly Destiny is saying.
Sorry.
All right, there we go. And I can tell you right now, that factors zero into my calculus. Like, I'm more.
Well, no, I mean, that's really important. If stuff like this and Trump's response ends up making him less likely to get elected.
Just though, if you're riding for that kind of political reason, that's even worse.
I mean, when top down, when the only responses Trump has given is that when the looting starts, the shooting starts, or like quoting literally like racist.
That's what happens.
Literally quoting like a racist cop from '68, I think. Like that's not a good look. Like that's not a good way to manage your citizens protesting. Like when you're literally tear gassing people out so you can do a shitty photo op in some cemetery or church or whatever, that's St. John's Place or whatever. Like these are really bad looks for how Trump is handling things. And I'm sure a lot of people will be happy with literally anybody else at the helm but him.
I mean, I think that what you're saying gets to a truth of what a lot of people are thinking on the left, which they actually like these riots. And I think that this could be a reason. This is the conspiratorial nature in me, but this could be why people like de Blasio are like, yeah, go ahead, keep rioting. We're just going to give up parts of the city and be unwilling to accept the National Guard.
Well, I don't think there's conspiratorial at all. I think that affecting political change like this is fine. Like that's part of the goal. Like activism and riots are one side of the coin and the other side is voting. Like bringing awareness to issues like this, you know, and an attempt to get people to vote differently is part of the goal, right?
If we're looking. Okay. So he says it's fine. I say, I think de Blasio is allowing these riots to go. It's conspiratorial. He says that's not conspiratorial at all. That's not all. I think trying to get political change like this is fine. So can you explain to me how he's not saying it's acceptable, that he's saying, oh, no, it's not acceptable, but this is what's occurring? Why does he say it's fine then?
I thought you said he was encouraging it, supporting it. Now it's fine?
He said, right.
So the two different matters, two different perspectives you come across. Either if I'm for something,
now you're going to quit. So now you're going to quibble.
It's like it's okay. It's okay.
I don't know what exact word I said. I said Destiny said it was acceptable.
Jesus Christ, I've done this so much with him. He doesn't know what he exactly says. Okay.
So you're saying that's not the case. Your argument was, no. Destiny just said that's a harsh reality. He's not supporting it. He's not saying that it's good. He's just saying, but right there, he just said it's fine. You want to hear some more quotes? You want to hear some more quotes?
No, hang on. What I said is exactly what he just said as well. It's a harsh reality you have to deal with. That's a harsh reality.
That's
yes.
Not what he
that's
said.
Not saying. That's not saying. Oh, I hate it. That's not saying it's so bad. We need to get rid of it. That's saying it's fine. It's a harsh reality that we have to deal with.
Let's play that clip again, and I'll leave the
why
again.
Jesus Christ. Okay.
We're gonna play that clip.
I'm gonna be here for 20 more minutes. I'm heading out.
Okay. Well, let's play that clip again because you are so biased.
Put the clip and fast forward. Put the clip and fast forward. I'm not sitting here at normal speed anymore. Please.
You're so biased that you can't hear the obvious nature of what he's saying.
We're both biased, motherfucker. Don't come at me with I'm biased. You're right.
You're right. I am biased. We all have some form of bias. However, my bias doesn't discourage me from seeing objective reality. The objective reality is Destiny's not saying here like, yeah, these riots are occurring because of politics and that's terrible and we need to condemn them. That shouldn't happen. He's saying, yes, that's fine. Pushing for political change like this is good. It's violent or activism and rioting's the other side of the coin to voting. He's saying it's good. That's what he's saying. And the fact that you're so biased that you're denying the literal words he says shows that your bias has affected you so much that you can't be trusted to see objectivity. Now let's play it again.
I have some opinions if you would like it.
Might have been like someone that
some sort of response.
Do you think
that
riots will help? I don't know though. And and I can tell you right now that factors 0 into my calculus. Like I'm more.
Well, no, I
concerned
mean
with
that's
the
really
hell-
important. If stuff like this and Trump's response ends up making him less likely to get elected, I assume most of the people protesting or rioting even would assume that that's like a victory on their part.
Right. So what he's saying here is, if these protests lead to Trump being less likely, he left. He left. The coward left. Who would have thought? There he goes. He ran out. So notice what he's saying there. There he is, the runner. Hey, thanks so much, Unholy Raft. We appreciate you, man. We appreciate you being a coward and running. Thank you so much. Good stuff. Sounded like he was crying when he was talking, calling me a fat bitch, but too much of a coward to show his face. And running when he gets caught lying. Good stuff. So let's listen to what Destiny says here again. Now remember, he can't defend. The reason he ran is because once the receipts comes out, he can't defend it. He can't. Oh, Unholy Raft, you rage quit. Now you want to come back when you were called out for being a little crybaby? Oh, little crybaby. Here's the link again. Little crybaby.